CarPlay and Android Auto. So you could have the app in your car on the device in there if you have a newer car. That's something we're thinking about. It costs a little bit extra to do that. I'm still waiting for the price on that. But if that's something that interests you, please let me know. I'd like to figure out if it's going to be worth our while to do that. If people are going to use it, then it's worth it. But if not, no use spending the extra money for it. So all the different areas where we reach, mentioned Faith World. This one's kind of exciting. We started this December of last year, and it's on, in Europe, 2 different satellites. One is the Sky satellite system, and that's kind of like DirecTV is here. But it has even more penetration than DirecTV does in the States, in the UK. That's specifically for the UK. And then it's on other satellite throughout Europe. And the Faith World, the demographics of their viewership tend to be African immigrants living in Europe. That's the bulk of their viewership. And that really turns out to be a good thing because, well, for instance, Troy Spradlin, who works with us with the program, was over in Italy. His congregation overseas, missionary there, was there visiting. He spent some time in Europe. And the church in Europe, by far, the majority of members of the church are African immigrants. The second biggest demographic, U.S. military. So that's who comprises the church, which tells us that is a rich mission field. If we have a station that appeals to African immigrants in Europe, that's perfect. And we're getting responses from them, getting responses through this. And this system is also carried on some cable systems in Nigeria and Ghana, which happen to be 2 areas where the Lord's church has done very, very well. There's a lot of Christians in Ghana especially, and we hear from them from time to time, watching Faith World down there. It also goes over the internet, and there's other places in Africa where people are getting it as well. Here locally, we have different broadcasts. This is the one out of Nashville that covers us here. We're also in Chattanooga, Huntsville, Jackson. This is coming out of Paducah, Kentucky, up in Louisville, Kentucky, Roanoke, Virginia over there. But here in Warren County, we're on Sunday mornings on Channel 30. We show up there. We also have a radio broadcast here locally. Just last week, we started in Seattle, Washington. That's a pretty exciting opportunity up there. That's the 12th largest market in the country, and it is a mission field. I was up there over the summer speaking in a lectureship, and there's some good congregations in an area. Don't get me wrong there. Some really good congregations. Growing, dynamic, and that part was very exciting. But it's just a handful among millions and millions of people. It is one of the great mission fields of our country, and the opportunity to broadcast there. One thing that concerned me a little bit was 6:30 in the morning is awful early. You know, some places, farmers are up, and that's about it. But turns out in the Seattle area, 6:30 in the morning is a fairly good time, fairly good viewership of television at that time of the day. So we just started, still waiting on our first response there, but it generally takes a few months for people to find the program and for the responses to start. But we're really excited about that. The congregation up in Olympia, Washington, when I presented the opportunity, the elders there said, don't bother talking to anybody else. We want to pay for it. They're covering the entire cost of that, which was a pleasant surprise. the fact that they could do that. So as we look at the coverage area, northwestern Washington, this is all the way down to the Oregon border there. Fairly good size area that it covers. And one thing about these western states is the size is deceiving. You know, kind of like Tennessee deceives people when you go from Memphis up to northeast Tennessee. You're traveling a long ways. And Washington, you are traveling a long ways as you go through there. So geographically, it's just a huge, huge area. And the station that we're on is covered by all the cable systems, all the satellite systems. So we have great coverage there in Washington. Here out of Nashville, WXP Channel 30. In this market, 2.7 million souls in 1.1 million households. Nashville, Seattle, two totally different markets. The viewership we have here is fantastic. 40 counties here in Tennessee covered by that, and 9 in Kentucky. The reach from Nashville is just absolutely amazing. And this is, by all accounts, you know, they talk about the Bible Belt. This is the buckle. It really is. And we're pleased to be here in this area. I come on at 8 o'clock on Sunday mornings, and WXP is covered by all the cable systems, all the satellite systems. And it's us, it's Search, and it's Counterpoint that's on the same channel that we are, or Preaching the Gospel. One of those two is here locally. I get those mixed up. But we have lots of programming that's available for the Lord's Church here locally. On radio, back just a few months ago, we started broadcasting 10 o'clock on weekday mornings. The Central Congregation is kind enough to cover the cost of that. So on the radio here locally in McMinnville, every weekday morning, 10 o'clock, you can hear an episode of Good News Today. And they're not necessarily the most recent episodes. These go back quite a ways, doing 5 a week. You burn through some material pretty quickly that way. Matter of fact, just Friday, sent them a couple hundred more programs because everything that we had sent them already, they've played. So that's an exciting opportunity. And also out of Dunlap, there's a station there that carries us Sunday mornings over the radio. And I think that AM may not be able to come all this far, but it has a pretty good reach. And definitely covers the Sequatchie Valley. As I mentioned, we're a magazine format program. And originally, the segments were parts of other programs that air on the network. What Good News Today has kind of evolved into is all these segments are specific to the program. Gives us a whole lot of flexibility with that. And every program, there's 3 segments that you're always going to see. The devotional time that begins the program, Jim Dearman Sound Words, and that's a minute and a half or so that one goes. And then we always close the program out with Have a Bible Question. And that's been an incredibly well-received segment there at the end of the program. Those show up every week. You'll see those. And then there's other segments that we mix and match during the program. Troy Spradlin does a segment called Repairing Our Understanding. He's there at a set that looks kind of like a workshop and deals with different biblical areas. He's going forward here, you'll start to see these in a few weeks. He's going to be dealing with specifically passages that are often misunderstood. For instance, John 3:16, people think that teaches faith-only salvation. No, and he'll repair the understanding of, or the misunderstanding of John 3:16 and other passages. And he really does an excellent job with that. Freddie Clayton does a segment, Walking and Talking in the Light. Freddie is actually one of the elders at Dunlap, was the preacher there. And he allows me to say this. Freddie is as country can be. He is just a good old boy. He rolls his eyes when I say this. He's also absolutely brilliant. And with his segment, a lot of times he's dealing with very, what I would call controversial subjects, things that people in the denominational world may get a little bit upset about. Do you know how many complaints we've gotten about Freddie's segments? 0. He does such a good job, you can't argue against him. And he really does a spectacular job with that. And I think just his demeanor helps in that quite a long, it goes a long way to keep everybody from attacking when he tells them something that steps on their toes a little bit. One of the first segments done for Good News Today was done by Brother Tom Holland, Tom's Pastime Porch. If you're a Tom Holland fan, we actually have a few hundred of those segments. If you go to our apps, you can get to Tom Holland's Pastime Porch through the apps, through the Roku, on the website. Or if you're on Facebook, every Saturday morning, we drop another one of Tom's Pastime Porch. It was a very, very popular segment. We wanted to try to recreate that somehow. And though Tom Holland is, he was unique. Then I met Joe Guy. Joe is unique. Just a spectacular man. He's actually the sheriff of McMinn County over in East Tennessee, and a preacher, and a fantastic storyteller, and just does a wonderful, wonderful job with that segment. You know, nobody could replace Tom Holland, but I think we can say nobody can replace Joe Guy either. Just a fantastic, good brother, and becoming a very good friend as well. Chad Dollahite does a segment called Just a Minute. And they're not quite a minute. You usually run a minute to a minute and a half, but very quick, deals with a subject and gets out. And those we try to get in as often as we can, different subjects that he covers. Fabric of Family, that was a program that Barry Gilreath had done for GBN from the very beginning. And until about a year and a half ago, that program was syndicated. It was carried on different television stations around the country. And Barry's work situation changed, and he just could not do a half-hour program every week like he had been. So found out about that, approached Barry and said, hey, how about doing a segment of Good News Today? We'll call it Fabric of Family, and we'll include it. You don't have to do a half hour every week. You know, you can come record a few at a time, and we'll air those on a fairly steady basis. So that's what we've done, and that has been really popular. Some of the segments that he has covering issues having to do with the family. And one thing I've known for years, you know, I've been in broadcasting now almost 20 years. When you deal with subjects with the family, those tend to be things that people are interested in. When you look at what people look at on demand, family issues are way up at the top. People want biblical guidance in the home. And I think there's something to be said for that, and something for us to take note of. People around are hurting. And when we can address those things for their benefit, they appreciate that and they want that. And again, these the materials that we have, you know, you may see something on Fabric of Family and say, oh, my neighbor sure could use that. You know, there's one, if it hasn't aired recently, it soon will, talking about kids going off to college. You know, maybe you have a neighbor that's dealing with that. Well, you can go to our website, pull up that video and share that with your friend. You can go to Facebook, find it in our videos that we put there, and share that with somebody. You can do it from our apps as well, but by sharing it with them, meeting their need. And any of our material that we have, you can do that with any of these videos and use it as part of your personal outreach. It's a great way to utilize the material. Roger Campbell does a segment for us called Be Ready Always. Roger is, if I counted on my hand the most intelligent people I've ever met, he would be in that hand for sure. Roger speaks, I believe, 4 languages fluently, including Mandarin. When he comes in to record, he'll record like 25, 30 segments at once. And you see him just standing there. So what's the next one? Read off the title to him. He said, okay, let's go. And scripture after scripture after scripture, very outlined in his brain. He does that one after another I can't do that. There is no way. If that teleprompter went down, I would be sunk. But Roger has that type of a memory. And he's retired about 1.5 years ago from full-time preaching, and he is all over the world doing a spectacular job. And part because of his language skills, he can go places and be effective where others can't. Cody Boston does a segment called Cody's Corner. Cody preaches over at the Central Congregation. He actually grew up in Dunlap, and his father is one of the elders there. Cody's segment, Jim brought that on before I came on board. And the thought process was, well, Cody's going to appeal to the younger folks. He's a young guy, same age as my daughter. They were actually friends back at Freed Hardman together. And thinking, because he uses object lessons, kids are going to love this. And yeah, young people do enjoy Cody, but the older folks absolutely adore him. And television is kind of strange because things that you don't think, you find out, hey, this has broader appeal than I thought it was going to. So very, very tickled by that. My mother-in-law lives in Louisiana, the area where they are, gets the program. And one thing I absolutely love about her, she's very quick. She will give me feedback if she likes something or if she doesn't like something. And that's a good thing to hear. So many people just, it's so wonderful, and that's all they say. If she got something constructive to say, she's going to say it. And I appreciate that so very much. Don't wear that combination, that shirt and that jacket again. No. Thank you. She keeps me out of trouble, as does her daughter. But the congregation where they go to is an older congregation. I jokingly refer to her as the youth group of their congregation. And she said it's like a cheer goes through the congregation when Cody's on, because they just adore Cody. So bless his heart. He is very popular with the over 80 crowd. I'll just put it that way. New segment we're just started a few weeks ago. Austin Fowler does a segment called 2020 Vision. You'll start to see a few more of these, and I'll be with Austin here, Lord willing, tomorrow, doing some things with him. Austin works with House to House, Heart to Heart, their School of Evangelism and the American Mission Campaigns. He runs that part of the organization and is all over the place. But when he does segments for us, it gives him an excuse to be home for a few days, which he appreciates. Austin's just a fantastic down-home kind of guy. And again, his 2020 vision, dealing with things that are specific to do we see this clearly. And there's another segment that's coming back. This was one of the early segments on Good News Today. David Smith preaches over in the Chattanooga area. We're bringing back his segment, In a Word. And we've recorded the first of those, haven't aired any yet. But David, what he does is he takes a biblical word and develops it, helps us understand that word a little bit more fully. And it was a very, very popular segment back in the early days, and just tickled to be able to bring it back. David is just a top-notch guy as well. So every week with the program, we throw different segments in, and one of the things we've tried to do lately is put a common thread to the segments and kind of try to give a theme to the program. Because each of these speakers is coming up with their own subjects, how they're talking about things, what they're talking about. It's kind of like herding cats. So very rarely do we get all the segments on a consistent theme. But we try to do that as much as we can. And the first time that we did that with the subject of baptism. And, of anything you're going to do that with, might as well try there. And when we first ran that week, we had 21 new Bible correspondence course requests. That's a pretty good response from that. So as we've done that, we've seen correspondence course requests increase. Different places, you can see the program. I mentioned some of those briefly earlier. And one thing about this list that just absolutely shocked me is if you look at the Roku, the Fire Sticks, Apple TV, and Google TV, 79% of the homes in the country have at least one of those devices hooked up to their television. 79%. Absolutely amazing how television has changed in our lifetime. From the old tube televisions to high definition, and now through the internet, things are changing. And that brings some benefits and some challenges. The fact that we're available, there's Christians all over the place. In fact, this morning, I noticed on my way over here, we've got a Bible correspondence course request from Pennsylvania. We don't broadcast in Pennsylvania, but somebody up there who's watching online requested a correspondence course. So we get things like that on a regular basis. Where we get the bulk of our responses are places we're on the air locally. People, may come across the program, watch it, kind of interesting. One thing that we're blessed because of the format, we're unique. This magazine format is something rather unique. And when I first got into broadcasting, the rule of thumb was 12 minutes is the time the average viewer will watch religious programming, and then they'll get bored with it and turn to something else. That study was actually updated back in 2020, and that is down to 7 minutes. So if you notice on our program, we try to keep everything below 7 minutes. So before the average person wants to change the channel, we've got a different segment coming up. And it helps with our retention. With television, you don't know how long people are watching, but with things like YouTube, they give you charts. How long do people watch? And the viewership chart starts out, everybody sees the very beginning of it, and then it goes down a little bit, and typical religious programming goes for a little while and then just keeps tailing off. Ours, we lose a few, and it stays fairly constant till we get to the credits at the end, then it drops off. There's a reason we have a Bible question at the very end. People seem to be very interested in those questions and the way the guys answer it. So they stick around all the way to the end. before they turn away. So that's been incredibly helpful for us. But how do we get in those 79% of homes? That's the real challenge of television going forward. You know, we're available there, but how do we get people to come across and download the app or watch it? And that is the challenge that all of us in television are dealing with and will be dealing with for a while. Alan mentioned we do have podcasts. We're now up to 4 of those. If you're a podcast listener, the devotional time, that actually comes out every day. We've got, we've done over 1,500 programs, so we have lots of devotional time material. And so every day of the week, one of those drops. And those last 10 to 15 minutes, and there's quite a few people that enjoy listening to those as a little Bible study to get their day started. So there's a new one of those available every day. And then every week, we do the Have a Bible Question, the sound words, and then the audio from the program shows up as a podcast as well. And those are available wherever you get your podcast. And if you are a podcast listener and you use a platform somewhere that you can't find us, please let me know. Because with those, with podcast services, some of them have their own unique, and you have to go through some hoops to get on there. And I think we're on all, but if there's something that you use that we're not on, let me know, and we'll get there. And if you have Amazon Alexa, the Dot devices, or a Google Home, you can listen to the podcast through there. And you can say those magic words on the screen, and it'll start playing. In the past, I would say that, and in doing so, some people's Amazon devices would start playing. People are like, stop it, stop it. So that's exactly what you would say to make it happen, but I won't do it now, so people's devices don't take off. It is kind of funny. We offer Bible correspondence courses in every program, and those we're over 1,400 current. I need to update that. We're getting to more states, more foreign countries as that grows. There's 30 members of the Dunlap congregation that grade the correspondence courses. And Dunlap's a congregation of about 120. Not a big congregation. 30 people grade correspondence courses. There's 5 other people in the congregation involved directly with the work in other ways. Of the 120, about half of them are kids. So you can see this is definitely a work of this congregation. And I can't say enough good about the Dunlap congregation. This is their work. They embrace it. When new Bible correspondence course requests come in, I can happily say I was there 2 weeks ago, and as of yet, we still have not had fist fights break out in the lobby, people trying to get the new students. But we have had people who come in early for worship so they can grab those before anybody else gets there. And Benny, who oversees the correspondence courses, has actually had to limit people. You don't pick up more than 2 at any week, so more people can have a chance to do it. But it's just so nice to see people so excited about that. And we try every year to honor the teachers and say thank you to them for the great work that they do. And if somebody requests to do it online, International Bible Teaching Ministries, they're out of the greater Chattanooga area. Barry Gilreath actually works with them, and the correspondence courses, my daughter actually coordinates that for them. Tickled by that. She's doing some rework with that. And just yesterday, She was telling me they got just a flood of courses coming from South Africa over the last few days, which I'm tickled. Alan mentioned that I teach in some schools of preaching. I just finished teaching my South African class last week, and the students there were going out on a campaign, so I hope that they were referring students for Bible correspondence courses here. But it's neat to see the range that we get from people watching the program. How can we stay in touch? Well, one way you can do it is through Facebook. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and like Good News Today, and every day on your Facebook feed, you'll get a different video. About 7 o'clock in the morning, every day of the week, a different video comes. On Sundays, it's that week's program. Saturdays, always Tom Holland. And then different segments. You'll see those pop up. And that's very, very easy from there to share it to other people. You can comment on there. You can like it. And the way Facebook works is the more people that like it, the more people that share it, the more people that make a comment about it, the more people it shows it to. So it's one of those things that once you build up some momentum, it goes further and further. And every day there's a few hundred people that watch those videos, but it keeps growing and keeps growing. There's a brother over in outside of London that he and I chat about once a week now. That's how we first found out. And then when he found out we were going to be on Faith World, he was just tickled to death. He said, we don't have many resources like that over here in the UK, and just tickled by it. And really appreciate all the work that John does. We also do Instagram once a week, let people know about that. And we have a weekly email blast if anybody's interested in that. I had hoped to bring sign-up sheets, but those are actually in Dunlap right now. That's what I need to, right after I leave here, I'm going to pick those up. But if you do, you can sign up to that on our website, gnttv.org. And you get one email once a week. And this idea came from a good sister who I was doing a presentation like this, and she came up to me and she said, Brother Mark, I've got a bone to pick with you. Gets my attention real quick that way. So what's that? And we had just done a program, and the question that was asked, that we answered and have a Bible question, was about purgatory. And she said, I've been studying with a Catholic friend of mine, and if I would have known you guys were going to be talking about purgatory, I would have told her to watch the program, because they gave a great answer to that. So I thought, how do I keep this from happening again? The email blast. Every Friday morning, 9 o'clock, you get an email. The top part of it tells you what we're going to talk about in the program that week. This is devotional time. Jim Dearman's going to talk about this. Freddie Clayton's going to talk about that. Have a Bible question is this. All those details. The second section is something about evangelism, how you can use the program evangelistically. And then the third part of the email is just news about what's going on. Oh, we've got a new TV station in Seattle, Washington this week. Or, oh, Mark's going to be at Bybee Branch in the morning. He's going to be at West Fayetteville in the evening. Or he's going to be down at the Faulkner Lectures the following week. Just information like that about the program. But just one email once a week to let you know about the program and encourage you to use it evangelistically. No matter what else is happening in the world, there's always good news today. If you have any questions about it, I know our time's up. I'd love to answer any questions and appreciate what this congregation does to help make this program work. And you can see we're in as many places as we possibly can, trying to bring the gospel as much as possible. And anything you all can do to help share and spread that is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for your kind attention.